Hello and welcome to another episode of Two Chicks One Show, the show where we watch and recap one currently airing show an episode a week as it airs. We are so close to returning to that format, but for right now, we are also very close to the end of our rewatch, or in Kate's case, first time through the X-Files. We just did season 7, if you tuned in a half an hour ago, and we are now on to season 8, the first season with no Mulder for part of it. And the new Agent Doggett. So, without further ado, Kait, your opinion on season 8, because we know you didn't like season 7 very much.
I did not like season 7, so I was kind of nervous coming into season 8 because even though I've majorly stayed spoiler free, I always knew that the last 2 seasons Mulder wasn't in them. That's what I've been told, even though season 8, there's still a lot of Mulder. So people that are afraid to lose Foxy Mulder, don't worry. He's really not that far gone. So, I mean, there's no real standout favorite for me in season 8, but there's also no real standout, like, I hated this episode. In a whole, I enjoyed season 8. I enjoyed season 8 a hell of a lot better than I enjoyed season 7. And I really like Agent Doggett, aka Elsie's dad from True Blood.
Or if you're me, aka the T-1000 from Terminator 2.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I do like Agent Doggett. I didn't know if I was going to like season 8 the first time I watched it because there's no Mulder, and I really like Mulder. Of course, the good thing is that Scully is my favorite character of the two of them, so I didn't lose my favorite. And it's always more interesting to see Scully thrown into these situations of having to be the believer. Like, I always liked the episodes that were religious based because it was always Scully being like, no, this is an act of God, and Mulder being like, no, God's not real.
Mulder was like, Mulder's a dick.
Kind of, yes.
So, I mean, for me, like, I know that you're like, your standout character is Scully, and for me, like, Mulder and Scully are kind of equal. Like, I like both of them equally, but Mulder is a dick.
Everyone's flawed.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's got a great ass, and he looks great in a Speedo.
Yeah. Just don't let him wear a shirt ever again.
Who doesn't want a man that is so involved with his work that he doesn't do anything else? He does feed his fish.
He doesn't have a bed.
Yeah. Well, now he does.
Well, yes, but he didn't get it.
This is true. But yeah, he is an asshole.
He is a little bit of an asshole, yes. Yeah.
But Scully has her moments.
Yeah, I mean, they both have their moments, you know. Yeah. Scully's she's more rebellious.
I think Scully realizes that, like, Mulder's a dick, and then she goes, she's like, I just need a break from you for a little bit, so, like, you go off, and I'm gonna pretend like I'm a normal human being for, like, a couple days.
Yeah, but her breaking away from Mulder episodes are always, they're either, I'm gonna go and relax and get away from you, and then she ends up going to Maine, and there's a terrifying doll, or I'm gonna go do this thing, I hate you, and now I'm going to be a little reckless and end up with ergot poisoning and a tattoo is yelling at me.
Yeah. Both very fine weekends.
And good episodes, in my opinion, although I know you're not a huge fan of Chinga. No. So I like those episodes where it sort of throws them out of their element. And I think introducing Agent Doggett for season 8 did a little bit revitalize the show because it forced them to go back to basics. I mean, they've flipped the roles, but there's still that believer skeptic dynamic. It's a little nail on the head in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I mean, the first 2 episodes where we're kind of searching for Mulder, and we're introduced to Agent Doggett, who is just the task force leader for finding Special Agent Mulder, because the new deputy director doesn't like the fact that Mulder is on the loose, and if, like, he starts telling people that the FBI are, like, searching for UFOs, that's gonna look bad for us. So you're not supposed to like Doggett. He's kind of like this annoying, and they keep saying that he's like career oriented, like he's just like
he's a company man essentially.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh God, relax. And then I forget, is it at the second episode that he gets assigned to the X-Files?
The end of the second episode, yeah.
Yeah. And then for like the first 4 episodes of the season, they're kind of just like, okay, guys, well, Scully's now Mulder and Doggett's now Scully.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why for a while I actually forgot that the third episode was the third episode. It's the one with the bats. Like
It's the one where
people.
like the bat guy attacks that old man.
Yeah, the bat people.
Yeah. The human bat.
Doctor Who. But yeah, so I forgot that episode was there because that one is very much the nail on the head. It's Scully is full into being the believer on the case, and she has to go, all out with it's bat people.
Yeah. Though Doggett did find the paper clipping.
He did.
So
it's a slightly different dynamic than Mulder and Scully, which I like, but it's still that skeptic believer dynamic.
I think the difference is like Doggett realizes what the X-Files are and realizes that's what they're looking for. So then he tries to find the most logical source of information for that. Whereas when Scully entered the X-Files 8 years ago, she like didn't really know what it was about.
Yeah, and I think also that Doggett, like you say, he looks for the most logical explanation that follows with everything they know.
Yeah.
And he doesn't necessarily dismiss the supernatural the way that Scully always dismissed it in the beginning.
Well, and also Doggett's, ex-NYPD and Scully's a scientist. So there's that too. But I mean, it was pretty like, I'm now a believer and he's not.
Yeah, definitely at the beginning. Although I do like one of my favorite episodes of the season is Roadrunners because it's a Scully ep. It's the 4th episode. It's Scully is off. She breaks down outside a small town and she ends up getting kidnapped, tied to a bed, and had a giant worm stuck in her back.
Yeah, I mean, original.
And the worm is essentially Jesus.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. And I like that episode. Like I said, I always like the religious ones. And I like the ones that are really Scully centric. So I like that episode. I understand why a lot of people don't.
You like the ones where Scully gets kidnapped.
I do, but
the victim.
I do actually. I have done, like, when I first got into the X-Files, I actually did a Scully gets kidnapped and Mulder has to save her marathon.
That was pretty much for the whole first season you just watched.
Basically. And a bunch of the second season and some of the 4th season. So like there are a lot of those episodes. I don't hate the episodes, but I do understand how problematic they can be. I don't necessarily think that this one falls into that same... Is that my cat? What the hell? Yeah. Necessarily falls into the same rung as those. Like, yes, it is Scully gets kidnapped, and yeah, Doggett does have to come out and help, but it's not for lack of her trying to save herself.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as victimizing as the ones where... as when Mulder had to come in and save her.
Yeah, as like Lazarus, which is the one where her ex is like possessed by the dude and kidnaps her and she's handcuffed to a radiator, or the Irresistible where she's tied up in a closet.
Yeah.
It's not as victim-y as those. It's more...
Or even that really bad Amish one where the guy tries to rape her.
Oh, God. I hate that one so much. Over Christmas, I was talking about the X-Files with someone, and one of my stepmom's friends...
I'm cold.
No. Awful. One of my stepmom's friends actually said he has never gotten into the X-Files because the only episode he's seen is Gender Bender. And I was like, you've literally watched one of the worst episodes of the entire show.
Yeah.
It is an awful episode. But yeah, so not like that. So not like those episodes. It's more she was actively trying to save herself. She recognized that it wasn't going to be able to get out of there by herself, especially with no car. And once they stuck the worm in her back, like... She was kind of,
Oh,
and God. She yelled at him to cut it out of her. Also, you should not be able to open someone's neck that much.
Yeah, that was, it seemed like it was a little intense for like an outpatient kind of. Yeah.
An outpatient procedure on a bus.
On a bus.
He slits like her neck open like this far and is like whipping it open, and then when she gets out of the hospital, she has like a little bandage.
Yeah, like butterfly stitches. See you tomorrow.
I do like that episode. Even if a lot of people don't. I
don't like things with worms.
It's the worms, really, that are the problem.
Like things that like don't have legs and then like crawl up into you. I don't like that. So
Okay.
I mean, sue me.
They do throw in a bunch of learning about Doggett. So Doggett and his son in vacation with a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
Doggett and his friend who's a judge.
Or he is a district attorney.
District attorney, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
In Red Rum, where he's living the days backwards.
I liked that one.
I like that one too. And I also, I like the actors that are in it. I like the episode. I think it's a well-written episode. I like ones where you live the day backwards. I mean, it was very much Memento kind of episode. Yeah. Which was done right near when Memento came out. Also, the fact that it's called Red Rum, which is murder backwards, which is fun and is the only thing I liked about The Shining. But I think there are a lot of, like you said, there are a lot of decent episodes, and there aren't a lot of really horrible ones. There are some that aren't as strong as the others. The Bat People episode is definitely one of them. But I don't think that there are any bad episodes, and I don't think that there are very many amazing episodes. I think it was a solid season overall, which is surprising considering the amount of changes that it went through.
Like the opening credits.
Like the opening credits, which I don't think Kait likes very much.
I mean, I just didn't think it was necessary. I don't understand why like Mulder's all of a sudden falling, and like why the eyeball is now Scully's eyeball. And I don't get like why Doggett is literally in 2 episodes and gets a title card and Skinner doesn't. Like it's just like little things like that bother me.
Little things. Just
yeah. I mean, just like little things. But I mean, as much as I was very worried about the addition of Doggett, I am quite a fan.
Yeah, I actually like him a lot, and I like I said, I was surprised how much I ended up liking the 8th season, despite the fact that a lot of changes happened with no Mulder in the beginning, and I thought I was going to hate it. I will say that there was, and I forgot about it because I think I was blocking it from my mind because it's so weird. There was one episode that I really don't like, which is Badla.
Oh no, that's all.
The little Indian man on the cart.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
So weird.
That was weird. It was like I was watching it, and my brother came home. I was in the living room, and he goes, "Oh my God, is that the guy that played the Oompa Loompa in Charlie?" And then
it is, yes.
I'm like, yes. And then I was like, "Oh, that's so bad. It's the only thing we know him from."
Oh goodness! So before we move on to the Mulder Comes Back episodes, there are a couple other episodes that I think we should mention for a couple of reasons. I'm going to start with the one that's fun, and we'll end with the one that I think is more interesting. So there's Salvage, which is in the last show. If you're watching our season 7 recap, Kait alludes to Salvage, which is about a guy who is slowly turning into metal.
Yeah,
which is funny because Doggett has a line where he says, "A man made out of metal, that's impossible."
No, this was the line. It wasn't even that. It was even better.
Okay.
Because a man that turns into metal, that only happens in the movies, Scully. Right. I don't know why I did like a Danny from Grease accent.
I don't know why you did Danny Zuko either.
but then like this at the phone.
Yeah, you're right. It was the line, and that is better. Which is only happens in the movies, because if you watch the Terminator movies, in T2, Robert Patrick plays the T-1000, who is a Terminator who turns into metal.
And I was just like, did anybody else hear that?
Literally everybody else has picked up on that.
I mean, my dad, who was in the other room, like, Dad, they just made a Terminator joke. He's like, if you say so. Like, Elsie's dad is funny.
Oh goodness. Yes, so I think that's funny. I'm not a huge fan of that episode, but
no, that was
I do like that line. I think everyone likes that line.
Yeah.
So the other one that I wanted to mention is Medusa, which is the one that takes place in the Boston subway.
Because I like that one.
In our pre-conversation before this episode started, Kait brought up a good point, which is really well demonstrated in this episode, which is that one of the reasons why I think we both like Doggett is that he respects Scully in a way that Mulder never did.
Yeah, because Mulder's a dick.
Because Mulder's a bit of a dick. And that's that he might not necessarily believe everything that they're investigating, but he completely buys into like that she is in charge, that, she's the expert, that if she says to do something or says something is happening, then he should probably listen.
Yeah, because there is in this specific episode, as well as a couple times throughout season 8, people question why Doggett is taking orders from Scully. Several times in this episode. They go into the underground of the metro system in the Boston area. Sure.
Oh, yes. If you're from Boston, you know
it's
that.
It's also just called a subway.
No, seriously, if you call it anything other than the T in Boston, they'll hit you.
Okay, well, I'm from Philly, so it's the subway. And he goes, well, why does she get to be up here and she sends you down there? And Doggett doesn't even think anything of it. He's just like, well, she's running like he says it like several times, like she's running the show. And I think there's a mutual respect between both Doggett and Scully throughout the season, whereas Doggett realized that she's the expert in this area, but Scully was Doggett for so many years, where there's a great part where Doggett, I guess it's probably either the end of episode 2 or the beginning of episode 3 after he's been assigned, that she goes, well, this is just like a temporary thing until Mulder comes back, but I'll make sure that you get a desk down here. And Scully never had a desk.
No, and I think it's interesting that they bring it up because the last time that they mention Scully not having a desk is season 4.
Yeah. Like, we're just like, and I even said like a couple seasons ago, like when you see the door, it says Fox Mulder, like Special Agent Fox, and like, why isn't Scully's name on it? Like, why isn't? So I just thought it was interesting that they both were kind of very respectful towards one another, and it was a real partnership, whereas throughout her partnership with Mulder, he was always kind of superior to her.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I still like their partnership because I think that they had a really strong relationship, but more personally than professionally in a lot of ways, though. So I think that Scully and Doggett have the professional relationship you kind of always want to have with your coworker, and Scully and Mulder had this really intense personal bond that didn't translate super well to The Office. So, like, the times when you most like Scully and Mulder is when they're being friends, not when they're necessarily being coworkers.
Very true.
Yeah. Some of my favorite moments are basically just them goofing around and being stupid. Actually, 2 of them happen in the same episode, which is the Tofuti Rice Dreamsicle one and the Batting Cages, which is both in the Unnatural in season 6. You're welcome. That's my brain.
I froze a little. That was me unfreezing.
Okay.
What were you saying?
I was saying that 2 of my favorite Scully and Mulder, like, just palling around moments actually happen in the same episode, which is the Unnatural, the one with the baseball players.
Oh, yeah.
Which is in the beginning when he does the I scream, you scream, we all scream for non-fat Tofuti Rice Dreamsicles, and they, like, wrestle. And then at the end with the Batting Cages.
I think there's a great little Scully and Mulder moment in this season in Alone, after Scully goes on maternity leave, and because Mulder just keeps fucking up and not getting the memo that he is no longer on the X-Files, we'll get to that, is now no longer part of the Bureau. So Doggett gets a new blonde, younger version of Scully.
That episode is actually great, and I have something I want to tell you about it when you're done. So go ahead.
Because she literally has the same haircut as Scully, but it's just blonde. And she's really it's kind of funny because she kind of, what was her name? Was it Holland?
You'll have to give me
Holden,
1 second.
Holden,
I'll figure it out.
There was an H. Kind of embodied, I guess, maybe the X-Files fandom, where she knew every case file that Scully.
Layla Harrison, by the way.
Okay, I knew it started with an H.
Yeah.
Knew every file of the X-Files, every case that Mulder and Scully worked on, because she was their accountant.
Yeah.
Never held a gun before anything. So she.
But she asked for the assignment.
Yeah, she asked for the assignment, and all first assignments on the X-Files, she gets taken captive by the thing that she is trying to find. and she ends up in the hospital, and she asks to speak to like her idols, Scully and Mulder, in the hospital, and she just starts asking them about cases.
Literally the questions that any fan would ask.
And they're like, it's like almost like when you're at a convention in like a panel, and like someone goes up to the mic and they're like, well, in this episode, so she's talking about the movie Fight to the Future, which Fight the Future is mentioned, I mean, like 25 times within the season. Those exact words just keep getting repeated. About how when they were in Antarctica, how did they get out? And
because
then
his snowcat ran out of gas.
Yeah, because and like Scully was naked. We talked about that on this show when we did that, and we're like, what happened to his coat? And Scully, who's very pregnant, and Mulder start fighting about whether or not they saw a spaceship.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
I was unconscious.
Yeah, I wasn't there. And then he goes, no, we definitely saw it. She's like, well, it's not like we have a photograph of it. So it was just like that kind of thing that I thought was really cute.
So one of the things that I wanted to mention about that, because it's something that I really love, because the X-Files has always been really loyal to its fan base, is that Layla Harrison is actually named after a fan who died of cancer in 2001. So she wrote internet fan fiction, and she was a huge super fan of the show. And so the writers decided to name this character, who is a super fan of Scully and Mulder, after this fan who died.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yes, I really enjoy that story.
And in that episode too, Scully, while she's leaving for maternity leave, gives Doggett the Apollo, was it 13? Or no, Apollo 11?
It was the Apollo 11 keychain.
That Mulder gave to her. And it was like such a cute little moment. And then they gave it to Harrison at the end.
Yeah.
Because she like just quits. She's
Yeah. So yeah, I really like Alone, and that is another, like you said, that was definitely one of those episodes that had that, like you said, that was definitely one of those episodes that had a lot of really fun, like Mulder Scully palling around moments. Which is fun, and yeah, it is. But just, is this one of the ones that I can't remember? Is this one of the ones that Mulder like goes along in the case even though he really shouldn't be?
Yeah, so I mean, when Mulder,
because he's no longer a FBI agent at this point.
Yeah, Mulder, the episode prior to that, Mulder resigns to pretty much save the X-Files as well as Doggett and Scully's careers. And he fucked up. He just like showed up at this assignment that was given to Doggett on an oil rig. And so when Alone comes in, which is episode 19 of the season, so it's later, Mulder's technically not an FBI agent, but just shows up to these things. So and it's good because he does save Doggett and Harrison's life in the end. But yet when Mulder comes back to life, he isn't really a fan of Doggett, and you kind of see the progression of them being okay with one another. I mean, it's kind of like,
it was sort of like meeting your girlfriend's brother.
Yeah. I mean, it was weird because I don't want to say like he was I don't think he was jealous.
I think he was jealous to a degree. He was jealous of the fact that Doggett's still working on the X-Files and is working with Scully and is having this kind of life that he was supposed to be having.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, he doesn't have that much to be jealous of necessarily.
I mean, I guess I think you comparing it to meeting your girlfriend's brother is a good way to, like, I think Doggett saw Scully in a completely different way than Mulder did.
Oh, very much. But he's still protective of her.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, like, Doggett, I guess you could say, is, like, Scully's older brother. And then, like, Mulder now has to come in and, like, win him over.
Yeah, especially because Mulder definitely did not win over Scully's real older brother.
Oh, no. He hates him.
He hates him so much.
I don't like him either.
No one does.
He's an asshole. And so is her mother. Her mother's an asshole. Even though she's
like her mother.
Her mother's been through a lot, but she's still a dick.
I like her mother.
I don't like her. And I didn't like Mulder's mother either. I just combined Scully and Mulder and say Scully. I didn't like Mulder's mother.
That is not their ship, it's MSR. But anyway. So there are only a few more things I think to mention. one of them is the fact that we had an episode right before Mulder comes back called Per Manum, which is the one where you find out it's a flashback to season 7, essentially, and a bit of season 7 that we never saw, which is that Scully, is this where Mulder tells her, no, she still has the eggs that Mulder saved from the thing, and like
she goes, I forget how she finds out.
Because he says, like, he knows that she's been taken, like, she hyper-ovulated and they took all her eggs and shit. But I think this is the episode where she finds out that he still has some.
Yeah. Is it when... Is this the one where...
back and she's like, you know, blah, 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 in vitro, yada, yada. And he's like, oh, look at this thing I have.
I think it's like a flashback one because someone comes to the bureau and says that his wife gave birth to an alien and the doctors took the baby from them and now the wife is dead and she was an alien abductee.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember how back in season 7 or whenever it's supposed to happen, she must have gone to a doctor.
Yes.
And the doctor told her that yes, she's barren, but if they had eggs,
right? She finds out about the eggs, and he says if they're still viable, we could try.
Yeah,
pregnant. So then she asks Mulder to be her sperm donor.
Yeah, she goes, if you have eggs, we can probably put them in you, and it probably work. And then she like meets Mulder, and Mulder's like, well, I got them in my apartment because like you're like
brings her for 3 years. No big deal.
Remember when I like stumbled upon that place and I was like, huh.
I'm gonna take some and not tell Scully.
Yeah, I'm gonna find Scully's name in this filing cabinet and take a tube of her stuff. I'm just not gonna tell her until she asks me about it.
Yep, specifically several years later.
And so that's exactly what happens in the hallway outside Skinner's office.
Yep.
And then she asks him to be her sperm daddy, and he says yes.
And then it doesn't work, or so we think.
Yeah.
So that's
we don't know.
That's one of the things. It's like one of the things in this season is they throw a few possibilities at you for whether or not Mulder could be the father of the baby. So they probably slept together in season 7.
Mm-hmm.
There's that she did in vitro fertilization with Mulder as the father. So maybe one of those actually did latch on and she didn't realize it. Because we're led to believe, I think, that this is pretty late in season 7 when this happens.
Yeah.
And then there's also the alien virgin birth theory.
Yes. But then Skinner is quite curious of who the baby, like any time it's remotely brought up that Scully is pregnant, he's like, well, who's the father?
I really want to know.
Yeah. And like at one point, yeah, and at one point Scully becomes in danger, like her baby and her are in danger. And I mean, I think partly it was for her security, but then partly it was like Skinner was like, this is the perfect opportunity for me to pressure her to tell me who the father is. Because he goes, time is running out, get her on the phone, and we need to know information about this pregnancy. And he goes, I'm trying to do the math to when she told me she was pregnant. And then Mulder goes, oh, I hear there's a pool down at the bureau trying to figure out who the baby's father is. And you kind of still don't really know, but I mean, at this point, it's Mulder's.
Yeah, it's Mulder's. I mean, it becomes basically it doesn't matter who's the biological father, it's Mulder's kid.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, biology matters, but in this case, it's like, he is my son, I am the father, this is what it's going to be, period. I'm taking responsibility for this kid.
Yeah, because even as soon as they save Mulder from becoming a super soldier, as soon as he finds out like Scully is pregnant, he kind of just takes on that role of the father. Like he goes to Lama's class with her at one point. Mm-hmm. They go to the doctors. There's when they're on the oil rig, he goes, well, if I don't make it out when the kid's old enough, tell him I went down swinging. And like that, like things like that, and you're just like,
Yeah.
oh god, like it's like corn. Like as a fan, you're like, yes, and then you're like, oh, this is a little weird, but yes.
Exactly. It's that like, yeah, I totally want to accept Mulder as the kid's father, and I think he'd be a good dad, but you know, it's the whole like, but aren't you really? But I guess as long as Scully's okay with it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and as long as Mulder's okay with it, might not be his child.
Yeah, and I think, and when you get to the end of the season, at the very end, when he says like, so we should talk about this at the very end, and she's like, you know, he looks suspiciously like Assistant Director Skinner, and she says, I think, you know, there's a lot of questions about who he is and where he came from, but I think what the truth is, you know, we've always known.
Yeah, and they had like that weird kiss.
And they have that weirdly staged kiss.
Yeah, and you're kind of like, and that was another moment where you're like, yeah, and then you're like, wait, this is so fucking weird. What is happening right now?
What are you doing to your faces?
Yeah, it's kind of like when you're a little kid and you see your parents like kiss, and you're like, why? Stop it.
That gets better in season 9.
So it was just weird. I mean, I guess like the biggest things that happened in season 8 that we should just briefly discuss is what the hell this kid is and what happened in the end of the season and why Scully has to go into protection, which also ties into the return of Mulder.
Mm-hmm.
We think Mulder's dead. He was dumped by the alien.
They buried him.
Yeah.
And then dug him up.
Yeah. He was dumped by the aliens. They didn't get to his body in time, so he died. They literally bury him 6 feet under with snow on top of the grave. Snow on top. Mm-hmm. And they realize that these dumped and alien abductees are coming back to life. So they dig Mulder back up, put him in the hospital, and then I guess what's the kid's name so I don't mess it up?
Billy Miles.
Because I said Billy Mays earlier. Billy Miles comes back to life and he takes a shower and he sheds his skin like an iguana and is now an alien. What do they call them?
Super soldier.
Yeah, but they call it like a replacement.
I guess. I mean, he's the same as what's his face, played by Adam Baldwin, and Lucy Lawless.
They weren't in this.
They weren't in this season? I thought they were in the beginning of season 8. I'm dumb. They'll be in the beginning of season 9.
They're not in this season.
He's the same as them.
So they're the same as him.
They're really the same as him. Yeah, he's a weird human replacement who doesn't stop, essentially. And Mulder should have become one, except Scully figured out how to make that not happen.
Yeah. And they're all so they come after the doctors that were performing these alien baby birthing experiments. They kill them all, and their next stop is Scully, because Scully was an alien or government or whatever the hell she was, still don't really know, abductee that had the experiments performed on, and she's now pregnant. But after this whole entire season, everyone's like, is it an alien or is it a baby? And you're just like, so then you finally realize it's a baby who, now this is how I saw it, I don't know if this is how was half alien Jesus in human form, half super warrior alien replacement.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, I think that's essentially what they're going for as far as an insinuation is concerned. Mm-hmm. Because once the baby's born, like, they have this whole 2-part episode where they're coming after Scully, and then she goes into labor, and then she and Agent Reyes go off to this like ghost town to have the baby, and then all these super soldiers are like descending on this place, and the second the baby is born, they leave. Yeah, which is all these super soldiers, alien replacements, I guess we'll just call them super soldiers, are trying to kill Scully before she has the baby. Mm-hmm. And Krychek, back in the beginning of the season, comes to Skinner and goes, make sure Scully doesn't have her baby. And for some odd reasons,
Krychek knows everything.
Yeah, he just does.
I don't know where he gets his information from, but he just knows everything, and he pops up. Yeah, and he just pops up and tells them, and is like, ha, 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 and then runs away.
With the cackle.
Like an evil villain, like the ultimate evil villain. So they have to get Scully into hiding, but still the super soldiers find her. And after all that, you think they're going to kill her and they're going to take the baby. They all stand there and watch her give birth. Like she has an audience while she's giving birth. And they all get in there. It
wasn't awkward enough.
Yeah. And they all get like in their trucks and their Jeeps. There was a lot of trucks and Jeeps. And just drive off. And nothing's explained.
Nope.
And then Mulder comes in on a helicopter, but he didn't know where she was. But he followed the light, which, I mean, if it's so close to Christmas. I mean, it was very kind of
a lot of Jesus. Yeah.
A lot of Jesus stuff. Because
the Jesus stuff gets worse in season 9. So I'll be interested to understand, like, know what you think of it.
Like, and then, like, when the lone gunmen go to visit the baby and they each bring a gift, I'm like, this is like 3 wise men.
Yeah,
but it's like,
that's entirely intentional.
And I'm just like, this hurts. This is hurting me. I just want to mention that I don't believe that Agent Doggett was born in the hills of North Virginia. I just don't understand how this man, who has one of the thickest New York accents I've ever heard, was on the NYPD, was born in a backwoods town that has a pump where you get water. Grew up there. I also don't understand how Reyes got there.
Magic.
Because at one point she goes, we just crossed over into Georgia, but Georgia's here and Northern Virginia's here and you are in DC here. So I'm not getting.
Right, Northern Virginia is like a hop, skip, and a jump from DC.
What was happening?
I don't know either.
The woman is about to give birth at any moment and just decided to go for a joyride.
A very dangerous one.
Yeah, Reyes.
So my last question for you is, do you like Reyes?
I don't know.
She's only in a couple episodes.
I'm having a hard time. According to IMDb, she's in 23 episodes.
She is, but she's only been in a couple episodes.
Yeah. I mean, I figure she and Doggett take over the X-Files. I also would like to know if DP sorry, there's something happening outside.
Just call him cigarette smoking man.
No, the other guy, deputy director.
Oh.
Kirsch. Is he like a super soldier?
I am not telling you that.
Well, that means he is.
No, I'm not telling you that.
I don't know. I just don't know.
I am not giving you any more spoilers. You've almost made it to the end of the season.
Almost made it.
Almost, with very limited amount of spoilers.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see you get through the final season, and then we've got one more movie after that. But you know, this last season is going to be the biggest thing. And I'm interested to see what you think of season 9. I have thoughts that we will share next time. But for now, I think we're definitely wrapping up season 8. Is there any last thing you want to say about season 8?
No,
I don't think so either. Solid season, decent characters. I like Doggett.
Mm-hmm.
I think that really.
I like Doggett. Don't know if I like Reyes. Oh, Alex Krychek dies.
Oh, yeah, Krychek gets shot in the face by Skinner.
Yeah,
that was a satisfying moment.
Yeah, it's for Skinner.
For Skinner, definitely. For me too, honestly.
I don't know. I liked it. He was like a good villain.
He really needed to die, though.
I mean, yeah.
He'd run its course, especially if Mulder's not going to be in season 9. Like, Krychek needs to go away.
Yeah.
Because he's evil Mulder.
Yes. He's evil Mulder.
Krychek is evil Mulder.
Yeah.
He's a pawn in the larger game. He's an FBI agent.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. One. Yeah, okay, I know. Okay. Anyway, so that's it for season 8 of the X-Files. We'll have season 9 very soon. The 6-part event series starts on Fox on January 24th.
June. Starts in June.
A few weeks away. But before that happens, we will be going back to our original format of week-to-week shows, recapping one episode of a currently airing series. That series will be Agent Carter, which starts on January 19th. So leave all your Agent Carter season 2 speculation in the comments if you would like, because we want to know. Agent Carter's fun. And then after that, we'll be going into Outlander season 2. So be careful not to spoil anything from the book readers, because Kait will not be reading the books. I will. So that's it for season 8 of the X-Files. We'll see you for season 9.
See ya.